Okay, so welcome everybody to this webinar. This is the last webinar organized in a framework of a Horizon 2020 project, Horizon Europe project, and the whole focus of the project, it is about renewable heating and cooling solutions. And we have seen that although this is a deep tech area, that women, like all the rest of the deep tech arena, they are facing some challenges. So today we have two speakers. We have Lydia from Greece, that is a researcher. So hello, Lydia.
Hi, everybody.
And we have Anna Maria from Malta, that she has passed from the research arena and now she's on the entrepreneurial arena, I will say. So both of them, they are, okay, good morning as well, Anna Maria. Both of them, they have experience on the challenges and on the obstacles, but at the same time on the solutions that there are out there in the market and how the women can capitalize and take the next step. So let me give a quick overview of the situation. I am sure that all of you more or less have an idea. So we are in an area that the pay parity gap, it is huge. We have been discussing that STEM area. It is the area that the pay parity gap, it is the smallest, but still it is extremely high. According to the last report that came out at the end of 2022, the pay parity gap, it is 270 years. So in reality, that means that women and men, in order to have an equal salary for the same job, they will need to do they will need to spend 270 years. I am afraid none of us is going to live after those years. So this is a worrying area. On the other hand, we have been discussing about days, diversity, inclusion, quality, and we see that this is now have changed from a buzzword and it is a norm. So companies now are asking more and more for a diverse teams, for a diverse working environment. And we see organizations and companies that they have already created this type of environment, that they are succeeding and they are moving faster than their competitors. Still, the statistic I think that we all need to have in mind is that on average, on European level, 30% of the workforce are women in comparison to 70% of men. And when we are going on the C level, the 30 is decreasing on 17%. So this one, it is a very worrying statistic, and for that reason, the European Parliament on November in 2022, they voted the new quota. So we all have to increase the number of women on boards and on C level. And we hope that we are going to change from this archaic sea level. So men, it is a men's world. This is the feeling, at least in the STEM sector, that it is a market created by men, operated by men, and the products are for men. Still, we hope that what we will hear today is going to give us some food for thought of how we can change this situation. And I think with that, the only other thing I would like to share, and then we can go to our prominent presenters and speakers, is that women, they are facing the so-called job stigma. So basically, the job stigma, it is the part that says that this is a man's world or a woman's job. Okay, so women are good for specific type of jobs, and I think this is something that they need to overcome. And of course, when we go to the part of the quota, I just told you, This one, it hits the so-called the management illusion. So basically what it is, the management delusion, there is a woman very good in what she's doing, very good on her research and on her tech role. And because we are missing women on the C-level, then we take the women out of the tech role and we give them a management role. So this one, it of course leads to the part that she is becoming a role model, not on the research or on the technical area, but more on the management area. And this, of course, it's affecting the teams. So with all this small introduction, I think you more or less get the idea of how we are going to move today. So Lydia, shall I give the floor to you to give us a small introduction?
Hi, everybody. My name is Lydia Papadaki. Let me, one moment to screen share. 1 second. 1 sec. Yes, your screen. Excellent. Okay. Okay, give me a moment. So I'm coming from Athena Research Center. Okay, okay, play from here. Excellent. Now it was unlocked. Yes. Can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
1 second. Yeah, something is off right now. Sorry for that.
No worries.
Okay, nice. I think now we can manage. Okay, perfect. Now can you see my screen? Excellent. So I'm Lydia Papadaki. I'm doing my PhD at Athens University of Economics and Business, and I'm also a researcher at Athena Research Center. All this just to give you an idea of where I'm coming from. All this is under the I4REA network. I4REA is a network that is comprised of 3 main areas. The first part is the research institutions, specifically the RESIs and the Stochastic Lab in the web in Athens University of Economics and Business, Athena Research Center, and iCreate, which is an independent research center. We also run several accelerators. Today I'm going to refer to one of them, which is a Maritime Climate Accelerator. And we also are founding members, or we have a leadership position in big networks such as the STSN, Sustainable Development Solutions Network, the EIRE, Water Europe, and goes on. What we do is first that we do research as a research team. We work mainly with Horizon projects. We also have an ERC, which is the first ERC that is granted to a Greek researcher, specifically a woman. On a woman, at this point, I would like to highlight the ratio in our team, which is basically women. And this is one of the big concerns for us, as we want to involve as many women as possible. Then we also have some innovation acceleration, as I said, and of course we focus a lot on education and training. Can you see my picture, because I feel it's frozen? No?
I do see the one with the world map.
Yes.
On the left-hand side.
Yes, the same.
Okay, okay, that's lovely. So first things first, before we start talking about the female entrepreneurship and the startup ecosystem in Greece, I would like to make a quick introduction of the climate change, because this is the main focus of our team, climate change and sustainable development. And this is why the whole, the big fuzz is about, basically. First things is about climate change. I assume that many of you already know, but obviously it's good to have a recap and to get more aware of where we stand today. Climate change is officially proven to be human-driven, and this is stated in the IPCC. IPCC is the intergovernmental panel on climate change, which every year comes to report and analyze the situation in terms of climate change and provide policy recommendations. 2 main pollutants that I would like you to keep in mind. The first and the most known is the CO2, is the carbon dioxide, which is responsible for the 2/3 of the pollution that we have right now in the earth. And another fuel that is not fuel, another gas that is not so much discussed about is the methane, which is 25%, which is which is, 80 times greater than the CO2 in terms of pollution, and is responsible for the 25% of the global warming. So this is another very important gas that we need to keep in mind when we talk about the climate change causes. What about the effects now? As you all know, the most important signal of the climate change is the global temperature, and now I talk about this in some of the most hot days in Europe, and mostly in the southern Europe. The global temperature has risen about 1% Celsius since the 20th century. We see the sea level rise. Some of the projections talk about 2 meters increase by 2100. We have the glaciers that are melting. We have the sea ice that is melting. We have the carbon dioxide that's increasing, and of course the snow. All these have an addition effect on the climate change, because the sea and mostly the glaciers and the ice have the ability to capture at least 4% more of the CO2 emissions than forests. So we don't only will need to face all these adverse challenges, but on top, we also lose some of our capacity to absorb the carbon emission, which means that if we want to meet the targets, and I'm going to talk right now about the targets, we need to multiply our efforts because our capacity is getting more limited. Where we stand now, 2022 was the 8th consecutive year where the annual global temperature has reached at least 1% Celsius above the pre-industrial levels. This is of extreme importance, as 1/3 of the world's population is exposed to these deadly heat waves. And also in 2022 specifically, the average global temperature was 1.15. In 2015, and now I'm going to the positive news, we do have one of the most important agreements that I would like all of you to keep in mind, is the Paris Agreement, where all the countries of the world came voluntarily and signed this agreement. It's 196 parties that in the UN COP21 in Paris signed this agreement and committed to limiting the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial levels, which means that if we want to achieve this goal, we need to decrease by 43% our emissions by 2030. So we have less than 8 years, decrease by half, more or less, our emissions. On top of that, in the next year, in 2024, there will be an enhanced transparency framework that will be there to map and gather all the actions taken to limit the climate change, the efforts to limit the climate change. And the most important thing is that the Paris Agreement is a landmark of this multilateral climate change process, because it's the first time in the history that all the countries voluntarily came to combine efforts towards this common challenge. A few months later, we also have these SDGs. Many of you also have seen this picture before, are the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, where they try to, they are the landmark of achieving sustainable development. To understand them better, here is, we have mapped them in, together with Jeff Sachs, in 6 pathways, transformation pathways. The first one is about the education, gender, health, well-being, energy decarbonization, sustainable food, cities, and digital revolution. And for anyone interested to see where our country stands, your country stands in terms of all these SDGs, you can go to this dashboard. It's the SDSN dashboard, and click either per country to see the profile of your country, or per SDG to see how we perform in terms of the SDG. For example, here we see that for SDG 7, which is affordable and clean energy, let's say Greece is in orange. Orange means that their significant challenges remain, and the projections, given the actions taken right now, so that Greece is going to become yellow, moderately improving. And unfortunately, we see that by 2030, that we said that in order to achieve the goal, we need to limit by 50%, more or less, our emissions. And energy is one of the most important drivers when we talk about emissions, we see that by 2030, most of the world right now will be yellow and just a few parts that are green, which means that we're very far from the goals that we have set, and many more strong actions need to be taken. For that reason, Europe, that aims to become the first continent, the green continent by 2030, has come up with several strategies, plans, and directives. The most important one is the European Green Deal, which is accompanied by several individual strategies, such as the National Energy and Climate Plans, the European Adaptation Strategy, the Fit for 55 package, etc. Specifically, the European Green Deal aims to make the European Union the first climate neutral continent by 2050. To do that, it says that it will support the mobilization of $1 trillion in sustainable investments. And this is what the reason I want to like to highlight this is that this is one of the landmark strategies that an entrepreneur needs to keep in mind, because if you're not sustainable, you will not be able to survive. So one part is that all the opportunities that European Green Deal and strategies bring, and the other part is about how the climate change can affect anyone's business, and this is a very important milestone to keep in mind. On top of that, we do have a European climate law that establishes the goal of limiting at least 55% the greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. And of course, the Fit for 55 package, that's a set of proposals in order to update the EU's legislation. So all this is a very important takeaway for all startups that are here hearing us today. And now we pass to the second part, which is about the innovation acceleration and what it takes to get a startup from an idea. In this map, you can see how all the incubation process starts. First, someone has an idea, then apply. The idea can come either from their own thinking or by participating in a hackathon. I will explain you right after that what a hackathon is. When the idea is a bit more well formulated, it can apply to an incubator in order to support the prototype development. After that, when they become a legal startup, they can start the incubation process where they participate in an accelerator. I will also explain what an accelerator is, where the accelerator will provide them with the mentoring, the networking that they need in order to come finally into the market and get supported from venture capitals and angel investments. First things first, let's say that you are interested in this entrepreneurship journey, but you have no idea where to start with. That's why are the hackathons. Hackathons are 24-hour, let's say ideathons is like a competition where all citizens can come together and try to address a specific challenge. Since we work on the climate and the sustainable development, we run the Climathons, which is an initiative of Climate Kick. And in this journey, we try to, together with the city officials, we set challenges that are related to the climate. And then the citizens can come in groups and in these 24 hours, get all the training, mentoring they need in order to understand the challenge, and then have the time to think and provide some concrete solutions. This can be the seed for a good startup, and we have seen this happening. Just to show you how this hackathon has been grown in the last years, in not just in Europe, but in the whole world, although it's a European initiative. We see that in 2015, we had 19 cities, and in 2021, we had 200 cities across the world and 65 countries. It's a big initiative that can give you the first idea of where to go to. Since 2019, in Greece, we have done 20 climathons, and this year we're going to do more. So for those who are located in Greece, just keep an eye. You can always find us. I'm going to share my slides later on. You can always follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and on the official website of Climathon, and see which Climathon is more close to your area, and you're most welcome to participate, find the team, find a nice idea and get started with this entrepreneurship journey. Now, let's say that you have done these first steps and you have launched your established startup, and you miss the mentoring, the networking, and all the next paths in order to get into the market. So what is an accelerator? An accelerator is a program that supports both the startups and the industry providers, let's say the challenge owners, as we call them, to come together and actually solve problems. From the one part, for the startups, an accelerator will provide you with mentoring and coaching, an extensive training program, co-working spaces, networking events, connection with the industry, some grants and initial seeds, the facilitation of technology demonstration, of course, the connection with big players in the market. On the other hand, we also support the challenge owners by providing them with a pool, with all this pool of solutions that they can use in order to solve real problems that they have in their company. And just to give you an idea of how it works, first, we ran this MENA Maritime Accelerator, as you can see. First, someone had to apply, and the selected startups were invited to participate to a matchmaking event where they presented their solutions in front of the industry. Then the industry also presented their challenges to the startups, initiating so an open dialogue between the final user and the solution provider. Solution provider is the startup. Then the startups have access to several workshops and online trainings that so for example, how to do a financial reporting, or how to create business plans, or how to pitch, very practical workshops on how to evolve as a startup and become, in the journey to become a company. They also have access to a personal mentor who is there to guide them through all the obstacles they face as a startup. Again, networking and demonstration events. This will happen at the end of the program, where the startups will come in front of investors in order to present their ideas. And of course, some funding, which comes either from the program or from the external investors. In 2023, we had several startups that are supported by the MENA Maritime Accelerator program. The MENA Maritime Accelerator program is an international program. Just in Greece, the founding members are from Greece, Cyprus, Bulgaria, and Spain. And but we do have startups coming from all over the world. We also had from Israel coming, one from Taiwan, enabling so everybody who has smart and interesting solutions to come into the market. Now coming down to Greece, climate technology. In 2022, we developed a report that talks about the Greece state of climate technology and maps all the innovations, climate innovations that work, that operate in Greece. We did this together with IOVE as Athena. Regarding where the innovation ecosystem in Greece, as we see, there is a significant increase that someone needs to take into account. Since 2014, we see continuous increasing trend in terms of the overall improvement trend, where Greece ranks as third among the countries with the greatest improvement in performance based on the European Innovation Scoreboard. And also it ranks us in the 20th place among the 27 European countries in terms of innovation. As we see, more and more expenditure is, as percent of the GDP, is being spent on the research and development, which shows the space for creating a startup right now in Greece. We see that the number of startups in Greece, how it is distributed and across the different areas, and then and by industry, how they are allocated. As we can see, 51 of the registered startups right now are focused on environment and energy. While here is the distribution of startups in terms of the years, we can see there is a growing number. There was only a lower application rate, let's say, in 2022. The number of founders, as you can see, they're mostly from 1 to 4 members that are founding a startup. When it comes to the gender, and here we're going to focus on the last part, we see that only 23% of them founding members in the startups are female. And we also see that the legal entities, entity types, where mainly we have private corporate, and secondly, we have these societies. Next things in our report, as we said, we focus on the climate ecosystem, and we try to map this based on 5 most predominant climate challenges and the innovations they solve. The challenges we focused on are built environment, materials and manufacture, land use, nature, and digital. And here's what we found: we had 83 Greek startups companies that they provide solutions to at least of these 22 challenges, and they were classified in various industries. The 4 climate challenges were the ones I presented you earlier. And as you can see here, circularity and sustainable mobility in transport, clean energy systems, and soil health are some of the most dominant areas where we see startups operating in Greece. Also, when it comes to the characteristics, we see that in the early stage entrepreneurship, we have mostly 1 to 5 entrepreneurs working on Greek startups, while 80% of them are located in Attica and Central Macedonia. When it comes to the strengths and threats and barriers in the Greek innovation ecosystem, what we'd like to highlight is the need for the stabilization of the economy and modernization of the public administration and the relevant authorities. This is a very important need in the Greek ecosystem in order to support the development of the startups. We also need a unified policy and strategy that will support entrepreneurship, including initiatives for young entrepreneurs, women, and unemployed people, in order to see more and more of these groups to be involved in these areas. We also need modern tools that will provide financial support, the strengthening and restructuring of technology, and finally, and most important, the reduction of the brain drain and the interaction of skilled professionals. Why women? And this is one of the slides I would like to close with. You see women, as we already said, there are less and less women that are working in Greece right now. It's only 23% of them, with 6.4 of startups in Greece to be led only by women, not by mixed founders, only by women, which is a significantly low rate. If someone considers, one moment, if someone considers the strengths that a woman brings to the workforce, first, we see the emotional intelligence. There is this 2016 study that reports that women score higher than in men in most areas of emotional intelligence. In this study, we see women to be better at soft skills that help them effectively lead in companies. They were more self-aware, demonstrated empathy, and outperformed men in areas such as coaching and mentoring, influence, inspirational leadership, conflict management, organizational awareness, adaptability, teamwork, and achievement orientation. They're also able to multitask. Some of the people look down on multitasking, but as an entrepreneur is one of the most important skills that someone needs to have. In 1 minute, you need to be in a finance department, preparing invoices and recording expenses, and then the other you need to do a pitching and sell your product. So multitasking is one of the most important things that someone needs to have in the entrepreneurial world. They are also adaptable, and given all the challenges I said at the beginning about the climate change and the need for sustainability, we see that companies right now, even existing companies, need to be adaptable, need to change even the foundations of their focus in order to come close to the needs of our society today. In another survey, we see that 1,400 women were asked what skills make them so successful at work, and the top answer was adaptability. Another skill that the women have is perseverance. Women are mentally tough, And there are so many examples of women throughout history that have shown this major grit. They also are capable of good communication. They're great communicators in different ways. Generally speaking, men are very good at communicating in clear and concise ways, but women can pick up of nonverbal clues, empathize with others, and display great listening skills. All these are very valuable skill set for CEOs. They're also understanding. They can show passion, they can show empathy, and as a result, they can create a female-friendly workplace that can bring the best in their teams. They are also able to take risks, and starting a business itself is a huge risk, but women can do this leap. They're also can show humility. And this is another very key component of any CEO, as the worst thing a CEO can do is to be overconfident. The competition is very fierce, and you need to have a good companionship in order to have a strong company. They also perform creativity. But women are great at thinking outside the box and looking for new solutions to all problems. They can always avoid don't fix it if it isn't broken attitude, and always look for new and creative ideas. And finally, they're relationship builders. They can prioritize working well with their employees, serving customers, and also make time for family and friends. If you're a woman and starting a new business, you need to embrace all these strengths and actually bring them in front in this entrepreneurial world. And what about the opportunities? Why someone should start today to operate and get more involved in the startup ecosystem in Greece? As we see, there's a great local talent, and there are highly qualified graduates, multilingual, and top scientists in the country. We also see several tax incentives for the stock options. There are several funding opportunities coming either from angel co-investors, from new funds, or from even the global networking and the pitching events. These are some of them. The conditions that make the development of a startup right now in Greece a very important choice. And also, if a woman comes with all the skill set mentioned before and bring this into the entrepreneurial world, can have a great success. Finally, I would like to tell you that all the work mentioned before is part of our work in the Horizon projects, which can be organized in 4 main categories. First, we work on the energy decarbonization. Then we also have several projects on the maritime, seas, and oceans. You can find all of this in our website, Water, Food, Energy Nexus, and of course, innovation acceleration, upskilling, and reskilling. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'm here for any questions. You can always contact me at my email or on LinkedIn. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts.
Thank you very much for this, Lydia. Indeed, you have given us a lot of information for us to process. I have seen that Anna Maria is keeping notes in order to combine her thoughts with yours, and I have already received a couple of questions from the audience that they would like to ask. So I think that let's move with Anna Maria. So Anna Maria can give as well an overview of her thoughts, and then we can go to the question session. So Anna Maria, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you so much, Lydia. Definitely a great foundation to build on. And I also very much look forward to actually jump into questions and have a discussion, you know, with the participants. So from my end, what I would like to definitely add and build on the insights that Lydia brought is from my experience. And let me start with a bit of introduction here. So what I bring to the table and into the ecosystem is experience working in the innovation support ecosystems for 23 years. I'm Romanian originally, but I have been now based and living in Malta for almost 20 years. And I have been also working across Europe, actually, for the last 20 years or so, including with the European Institute for Innovation and Technology, EIT, and the different knowledge and innovation communities that are under its umbrella. So I basically, whilst I'm able to and have a lot of insights from a country level, most of the work that I do is very much at a European and at a pan-European level. And I think this is particularly important for both researchers and entrepreneurs, because one of the biggest challenges is to actually scale up your projects, your concepts, your businesses. And this is where, you know, incubators, accelerators are doing such a great job, and especially important for entrepreneurs and innovators is to be able to see and build a bit of a pathway of support and support networks that they can leverage. And this is something that I typically, you know, work together with the innovators and entrepreneurs that I'm assisting. And for this, there are actually a number of EU-level programs or EU-supported programs, not just the EIT, the European Institute for Innovation and Technology, that has a number of schemes and hubs in the different countries, like in Greece, and it was the EIT Climate Kick that also Lydia was mentioning, and they are present also in Malta, and I have been assisting and collaborating with startups under the MENA Maritime Accelerator, and so on and so forth. But what do you do when you want to take things further? And with this in mind, there are a number of very interesting programs like the Blue Invest Investment Readiness Assistance Program, which is a very nice next step to get into and to apply and to build on, for example, the MENA Maritime Accelerator that is available in Greece. There is the Green Assistance Program that also offers further guidance, assistance, mentoring, coaching, assistance in opening doors towards other investors and potential clients at the pan-European level. There is also the Horizon Results Booster Program that benefits a lot and should be more and more used by innovators and also by participants in the different EU-funded projects, especially under Horizon. So it's the very next step to definitely leverage and use. There are so many other initiatives that are falling under, let's say, the category of cascade funding, which again, for smaller or younger enterprises like startups or early stage scale-ups are really important, because you need to build traction and you need to build confidence from the market and the potential investors in you. And that can be done only in a step-by-step approach. So you need to actually have a pathway of engaging assistance, of reaching for finance, of building networks of potential clients and supply chain partners, and so on and so forth. These different programs, plus a number of others, like the European Prize for Women Innovators, like the Women Leadership Program, like the Enterprise Europe Network, like the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs Program, the European Cluster Collaboration Platforms. There are so many initiatives that actually, as entrepreneurs, you need to be aware of, even more so as women entrepreneurs, that we need to leverage on everything that is available out there for us, First and foremost, we need to be aware of them. Then we need to prioritize them. Then we need to have a pathway of how to leverage and build on them. But there are a lot of challenges, and even more so, especially nowadays, there are opportunities. And besides all these opportunities of mentoring, support, coaching, consulting, assistance, funding on top of it all, there is also the increasing attention and focus that is being placed on gendered innovation and on gender and female-driven innovations and on female-driven companies. The gender equality plans that are being under Horizon Europe requested from the different projects are an opportunity for the various innovators and entrepreneurs, to women entrepreneurs and women innovators, to have an even stronger role in such partnerships, an even stronger voice at the table. So it's important to use these things, to leverage them, to see the opportunities and not just the challenges. The evaluation process, because I have been working for almost 15 years now, also on the side of the evaluation of different EU and national bodies, the attention and the focus and the importance that is being given to gendered innovation is higher and higher. So as women innovators, as women entrepreneurs, it's important that we place even more focus on that. This is so relevant in the energy field, in the climate field, because many of the solutions are driven by women in the households, in the companies, in the society. So, you know, besides the technological side, there are all these elements of social innovation and gendered innovation that we definitely need to bring on board. Just this year, as an example of the importance that this is receiving nowadays, just this year, the EU Social Innovation Challenge is focused on energy poverty. So, you know, that there are these opportunities, there aren't just challenges, but we need to see them and we need to have a structured approach towards using them. Sorry, I had to make sure that I charge, I have my laptop plugged in. So there are really lots of things out there. I think the likes of Greta Thunberg and so many other women working in the field, women ministers responsible for energy and climate change, both in Europe, but even in the Middle East and other areas, are raising more and more the importance and the profile of women in this area. So we need to ride on this wave. You know, opportunities have to be grasped and used. So I would be happy to also, you know, elaborate further on this in very specific replies and discussions and hear the questions from your audience. But definitely, I would say just, you know, go for these things and have a pathway towards getting more contacts, more networks, more support, and also more recognition. And with this in mind, I will just end my, you know, sort of, let's say, pitch for being more bold in going for it as women entrepreneurs and innovators in this area. Keep in mind that the European Prize for Women Innovators is ongoing at the moment. The deadline is 27th of September. This year, it's being implemented jointly by the European Innovation Council and the European Institute for Innovation and Technology. And there are 9 awards that are going to be given. There are 3 under the Women Innovators Prize, 3 under the Rising Innovators Prize, so women under 35. And also there is the EIT Women Leadership Award, which in a way tackles the issue that you raised, Dimitris, about women moving into management and into leadership, which is it's a plus and a minus, because when you take the leadership roles, when you take the management roles, you can also pave the way for the next generation. And that is important as well, As is also important, the element of allyship, making sure that we work together, not just between ourselves as also women entrepreneurs and innovators, but definitely get allyship from our male collaborators. Some of the best supporters and collaborators that I had over my career today were men. And we work in the society together, and we face challenges together, and we can do much more by definitely being allies to each other. Looking forward to your questions and discussing more.
Okay, thank you very much, Anna Maria, for your sharing your point of view. And I also believe that it will be very interesting to go to some question session. I have already received a comment from Ozge. So Ozge, she is going to give us a quick share of her thoughts. But what is interesting is that Ozge, it is what Anna Maria you have described. So she's on the academic sector on the engineering, and she has moved now on the management part of she's the head of the Department of Innovation. So there is this shift even on the research area. And so, Ozge, since we have the pleasure of having you here with us, would you like also from what you have heard from both Lydia and Anna Maria, to say a couple of things about the challenges that you experience on your dual hat? So, for example, and to see how those are related to what the other two ladies have just said with us.
Yes, thank you very much. Indeed, thanks a lot for Lydia and Anna Maria. And I also thank you, Dimitri, to share us the opportunity to be with you. This is very nice that I am also interested in academically in innovation and entrepreneurship. And I am also a women entrepreneur. I have my own edtech company. At this moment, I can say that we have the similar changes in Turkey that Greece is, I have seen the small media that Greece is experiencing some challenges in the entrepreneurs for startups and for including women as entrepreneurs in the ecosystem. We have the similar problems because as experience in innovation and entrepreneurship, we know how to reach, for example, the European Union fundings. However, it is not very easy for the persons, for the people to get acknowledged about this. What you are, for example, Anna Maria, you were just talking about, I was taking notes about the European Prize for Women Innovators. So that is important for us to enlarge our ecosystem. That might be easy for joining the networks for entrepreneurs, and we are also, as the Turkish part, I'm also, my university is located in Izmir, which is very close to Greece. So maybe some collaborative projects may be ahead for future. The networks that we can join as women entrepreneurs, maybe you can mention more about which networks are available, how to join them. And maybe I can also ask Lydia about I just have to look at my notes. I'm interested in the climate home, for example. This is very interesting because we are also working on the sustainability of our university. It has a very strong background in agriculture and maritime. And so that's maybe I can also ask Lydia to explain more about that idea at once. Thank you very much.
Of course, thank you. Let us I didn't catch which part you would like me to expand on. Climate?
Climate home.
Climathon. Yeah, of course. Of course. Okay, so yes, Climathon is a hackathon. This is a 24-hour hackathon where everybody can participate, anybody. We don't ask, for teams, formulated teams or startups or for someone with higher education. Everybody has access to the hackathons. And the goal of the hackathons is, there are two main goals. One is the awareness raise. And this is the minimum thing you get from a hackathon. Because from the conferences, the participants may be a bit more passive, while in a climathon, in a hackathon, any hackathon, first they get to hear and read a bit about the challenge, but they also have the time to find on their own possible solutions, which means that in these 24 hours that they spend on this specific challenge, they educate themselves, they find a way to educate themselves on this and come home with a more concrete idea of what is happening and what is the possibilities of solving this issue. So this is deep awareness. The other goal, which is more related to the innovation, some of these teams and some of these solutions can have the background and the foundations to become a startup in the future. So these teams that they do have this capacity, we help them through the incubation process that can be most of the times one of the awards in a climathon, where they can have, let's say, 12 months of mentoring on how to formulate this idea, to apply to become to become a startup, to have a concrete entity, and see how we can take this forward. If the team is, the right one, the idea, we see that there's a possibility, etc. So this is the innovation idea. However, even let's say that you're a citizen, you participate in a hackathon, you have no team in the past, right? You're a woman or you're whoever, you have no team, you participate in a hackathon, you meet several people there, you come up with a nice idea, and maybe you win one of the 3 top prizes. And let's say that this team may be not the most suitable one, you are 5 members and you have a good touch with only 3 of them, or the idea is not what you have dreamed of, maybe a part of it could be used to create something else. In this case, what you get out of this experience, it's that you get started. It doesn't mean that the idea that you will find in a climathon will have to be your next company, but it's the first step in order to understand how this set and how this, let's say, not economy, how this industry works, and then make the good contacts. Maybe you are interested to work more with a member from another team or someone else that you met in a hackathon. And maybe through this process, you come up with 3 new ideas and you discuss them with it. So it's just the first step, the opening of the discussion in order to get into this innovation journey. So this is what you get out of a hackathon as a participant. If you're a city, you get much more. And we have seen this, we have organized already in the last 4 years, 20 hackathons in Greece, 20 climathons, and we're about to organize more. We have seen cities and city mayors how they work. They have so many issues coming up in their heads all the time. So you have a meeting with them to talk about the climate issues. And then in the next hour, maybe 5 or 6 people pass by, and all of them, they can say another thing, like from the transportation to the waste to anything. So many times we see, there's some very simple things that can be done in a city in order to improve it. In our case, in terms of the climate and how to be more adaptable, or even how to mitigate some of the climate change, some of the emissions. And we see that the city mayors, they don't take any initiative. So in this case, what Climathon gives them back is that in these 2-3 hours that they will spend at the end of the hackathon to just listen and comment, as a jury, to have an opinion on these ideas, they will be bombarded with 10 or 20 different ideas on a very specific issue that they can, it can inspire them on what they can do in their city. So the next step after Climathon, from the point of view of a mayor, is that there are again two possibilities. One, that the ideas are very simple. It's something that they can change internally as a team in the municipality, or there is some opportunity, for example, for the development of an app, of a website, of a network, etc., whatever the solution is. So they're interested to touch base with the solution providers, with them, let's say climate winners, in order to see how they can take further this solution. We also have seen this happening. We have seen students coming up with brilliant ideas about how to create an app that solves several issues of a municipality, and then the mayors were literally begging the students to implement this idea, because they were super interested, and they were also interested to fund it. So you have like several winnings on different levels depending on the scope that you have, and this is why we keep doing this, and we see all this impact.
Thank you very much indeed for this very detailed information. We would like to be happy to organize a climathon in Izmir. So I would like to get in contact with you about this. Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you for that. So do we have any other questions from the audience?
Maybe I can jump in with some replies for Ozge regarding the networks. If I remember correctly, you wanted some more details, Ozge, right?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, let me just mention a few others to be more specific. But before that, I would just want to stress, there's one thing I learned along the years, that capability without visibility is nothing. So we cannot be, and this is something that as women, sometimes we struggle with it in the sense of, and that links to that humility that Lydia was mentioning. I mean, it's very important to be grounded. It's very important to be humble about what we know, and especially what we don't know, what we can get from others. But in the same time, we also need to be able to stand our ground and to make clear the capabilities and the knowledge that we have and what we can do. And for that, we need visibility. And for that, we need recognition from others as well, because sometimes the visibility gets increased when it is validated and confirmed by others. And that's why applying for the different prizes, even the application process in itself is important, because you become often a nominee and you get visibility and promotion often from the fact that you applied, or from the fact that you have been maybe between the shortlisted ones, not to mention if you manage to be the winner or the runner-up in some of these prizes. So definitely, I strongly encourage going for the likes of European Prize for Women Innovators, or the likes of Women Tech EU, which is another scheme that has been running for about 2 years in a pilot version. And now for 2023-2024 is going to be run again, but it's under coordination and support action under Horizon. Just keep an eye on Women Tech EU and see what will come in the following months. There is the Women Leadership Program, and these are also programs that are not just prizes in themselves, and visibility doesn't come just from prizes, but often comes from participating in some of the activities of these networks. Beyond the ones I mentioned, there is WeGate. WeGate stands for Women Entrepreneurs Gateway. And this is a platform at a European level, and it's an umbrella or sort of setup of other women entrepreneur support organizations in the different countries. They have a number of activities focused on capacity building, but also on networking. I have met over the years a number of other very, very active Turkish women entrepreneurs through WeGate. There is also WeHubs, Women Web Entrepreneurs Hubs. This is a network that I am also actively part of, and I'm the node coordinator for Malta. There are the Women Business Angels networks. And this, even as an entrepreneur, is important to start being involved, not just as a potential fundraiser, but also as a potential angel investor yourself, even in terms of learning how they look at the assessment of startups and investments. So it's like we really need to be more strategic in the way we get involved with different others along the value chain that we are involved in. I would also highly recommend looking into the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, ECCP. And on this platform, you will find, for example, all the networks, all the clusters that are involved in the area of energy, of climate, sustainability, circularity. And why are they important? Because you could have potential collaborators within those networks, but also because in the last years, they had a number of mobility support initiatives, meaning that, for example, entrepreneurs or companies working in a particular area and that would like to build relations, collaborations with others in a complementary field or maybe in the same field, and you build economies of scale or you get into new markets, you can actually get support to have a visit and start actually building a relationship with companies, organization in another country. So they have this kind of mobility support actions under the cluster programs. Similar mobility support is under the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs, where as an entrepreneur, even more so as a woman entrepreneur, you could go and have, for example, between 1 and 6 months, it's up to you how you structure it, hosted by another more experienced entrepreneur in another country. And it's up to you to choose those entrepreneurs. So it's not that they are kind of, you take it and that's it, you have an active role in choosing those partnerships and collaborations and from whom you want to learn, with whom you want to develop more collaborations. But first and foremost, it's like you need to be involved in the networks that allow you to find out more about these opportunities, that allow you to find out with whom would you like to interact more. So,
thank you very much.
Very welcome.
Thank you for that, Anna Maria. Is there anyone else that would like to raise a question?
I think there is something in the chat. If I see.
No, it is. I assume that she participated and then she was saying that she needed to jump to another
I didn't
meeting.
See it.
No worries. Okay, so all right. With that, first of all, let me thank all of you that being part of this webinar. For me, at least, it was very interesting, and I want to believe for the rest of you, it was interesting. You can find the recording of the webinar on the W4RES website. I will share the link at the chat, and also I will share the presentation of Livia at the chat, so you can all have her presentation. And with that, I would like again to thank you for being here with us and wishing all of you a great day ahead.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank
All
you.
the best.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.